Hello everyone, glad to be back. Today is 30th of November. Now it's 20 to 2, middle of the day by Moscow time. I'm Yulia Budanov and this is my first update for the day in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. Second update will be a little bit late in the afternoon on my Patreon page, in which I will share additional news that will be reported by Russian media. I should make update for Patreon yesterday, but unfortunately, even though I record video itself, I was unable to upload that update due to some technical issues, so I will compensate today with a new update. And also, dear friends, I have to make a little announcement in regard to my Telegram channel. Today, I was basically forced to make decision to turn off comments on Telegram channel, because this is the only way I can secure our community from spammers that are too active really, and they are faking account. They are creating accounts that looks similar to mine, and I can understand that they can confuse some members of our community. I did block several such fake accounts, but because Telegram administration did not yet come up with the proper solution to deal with the spammers, only way to secure our community is to turn off comments on the Telegram. So don't be surprised if you notice that there are no comments no more on the Telegram. I will of course continue to work on Telegram and update on regular basis as usual. That's been said, let's talk about news now, and I will start with short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefields. According to reports from Russian media and Russian military channels, mainly operational pause was holding all along the front line. There are only a few exceptions. First of all, Donetsk direction, Bakhmut area, which is the northern flank of Donetsk sector. According to reports from Russian media, military channels, and even defense ministry, Russian forces established full control over the Khramove, this small village right next to Bakhmut. And according to some reports, this settlement, by the way, Sinkovka, which is right next to Kupiansk, is under Ukrainian control, although there was some reports yesterday that Russian forces enter Sinkovka and establish partial control over this settlement. But then, yet again, according to reports on military channels, then Ukrainian forces conducted counteroffensive and regained control over this small village, which is just a few kilometers away from Kupiansk itself. Just a local scale skirmishes that not really influence overall situation on the northern sectors of the front line. I said many times before that Russian grouping of forces on the northern sector especially are locked and ready to conduct large-scale offensive operations at any time once Moscow will greenlight such a offensive. And that's why I don't think these local scale skirmishes around Sinkovka or any other small village in northern sectors have any significance at all. And that's it for a short summary. When it comes to Ukrainian battlefield. Mainly it's artillery duels between the sides, reckoning force operations. Nothing is happening on any of the sectors of the front that can be called breakthrough or can influence current situation significantly. So operational pause is holding, I will say. And dear friends, just about hour and a half ago, military summary channel did upload new update, and I do recommend military summary channel if you are interested in more detailed information about this local scale skirmishes on the line of contact. That's been said, before I continue, let me thank, dear friends, all of you for your time and attention, and of course special thank to members of our community that supporting my work with donations through PayPal, Buy Me Coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. Without your attention and support, this project would not be would not be, this project will not exist at all. So thank you very much. Let's continue with the additional news now. And RIA Novosti is reporting that, well, Russian Defense Ministry confirmed information that Artyomovskaya, which is Khramovaya, by the way, is under full Russian control, right next to Bakhmut. Also, RIA Novosti and many other Russian media outlets did report that yesterday Russian security services detained terrorist who was acting on behalf of Ukrainian, as I understand, secret services, and who was planning to detonate bomb on one of the train stations and blew up fuel tank on that station. It's good that Russian security services were tracking this individual and detain him before he managed to conduct that terrorist attack. But yet again, this incident definitely highlights that Kyiv regime are not stopping in its attempts to conduct terrorist attacks deep inside Russian territory. Let's continue. And TASS news agency reports about statements that former aide of Russian President Vladimir Surkov made in regards to Ukraine and Ukraine's fate in 2024. And according to Vladislav Surkov, Ukraine should not, or Kyiv regime should not expect any miracles in 2024 or any Minsk-free type of agreements. There will be no miracles and Minsk freeze. What will Kyiv regime get is further deterioration of Ukraine and further disintegration of Ukraine. Quite logical and understandable statements from Surkov. He basically, at least, indirectly confirmed my take on all this Ukrainian story. In my understanding, once special military operation will end, there will be no more Ukraine as a state left on the political map. Ukraine, this failed state, will be divided between Russia, Poland, Hungary, Romania, and maybe Slovakia. Although Hungary and Slovakia have to work out which country has claims on which territories in the western Ukraine. And that's it. That's what will happen after hostilities will cease in Ukraine. Western regions will be controlled by West, and the rest of the Ukraine, directly or indirectly, will be controlled by Moscow. RIA Novosti is reporting that yesterday Russian Air Force, Russian fighter jets shot down MiG-29 fighter jet of Ukrainian Air Force. We are rarely receiving information about air-to-air or detailed information about air-to-air combats, and after special military operation will end, probably Russian Defense Ministry will share with public a huge mass of information about Russian operations, military operations, including air-to-air combats. And in this particular case, according to reports that I see on military channels, Russian Su-35 fighter jet did track and shut down Ukrainian MiG-29. And on my Telegram, dear friends, I did share this photo from one of the military channels. And according to that channel, this pilot of MiG-29 managed to crash land its plane on one of the fields in Novaya Bukovka area, and this MiG-29 was shot down by Su-35, Russian Su-35 fighter pilot. Let's continue now. And RIA Novosti is reporting about additional information about poisoning of Mariana Budanova, wife of head of Ukraine's military intelligence, Kirill Budanov, according to Ukrainian media. And let me translate entire this sentence here to be more precise. So, well, according to Ukrainska Pravda publication, this is Ukrainian media, by the way. So, according to Ukrainian Pravda publication, citing current national intelligence officers, confirmed the version of the former head of Foreign Intelligence Service of Ukraine, Valery Kondratyuk, according to whom the wife of the head of the main intelligence directorate of the country's Ministry of Defense, Kirill Budanov, was poisoned with arsenic and mercury. Well, quite a medieval style of assassination by using arsenic and mercury, but I guess SBU, Ukraine's secret service, that is operates under on behalf of Zelensky. SBU basically is controlled by Zelensky, and leadership of SBU are part of Zelensky team. I guess this secret service, for whatever reason, made decision to use arsenic and mercury to poison Budanov. One may guess why, but it is what it is, and I'm quite sure that it was SBU, by the way. This was a hit on Budanov carried out by team of Zelensky, because both Zelensky and Budanov have support from US, and I guess Zelensky and his associates want to concentrate entire support of from US around Zelensky. And Budanov is a problem for them, and probably, I guess, they try to get rid of him. And let's see now how Budanov will respond. And he will respond, by the way, because he is a straight-up killer. He is a mass murderer and terrorist, and I'm quite sure he will hit Zelensky's team hard, undoubtedly. And even though, by the way, Kiev regime probably will try to blame Russia for this story, everyone, I guess, understands that this is an internal confrontation in Ukraine, and this deadly triangle, Zelensky, Budanov, Zaluzhny, will not once and twice will become active in the media. Their actions will quite often become part of media stories. I wonder how Budanov will now respond to Zelensky and his associates from SBU, Ukraine's secret service. We can say civil war in among Ukrainian political and military leadership has already begun. That's for sure. Anyway, let's continue. RIA Novosti is reporting that Stoltenberg, head of NATO, did made a statement during meeting of foreign ministers of NATO states that NATO and Ukraine should get ready and should be ready to prolonged conflict in Ukraine and for long battles. Well, Stoltenberg is definitely delusional, like many other representatives of Western ruling class. If they think, and they did made quite many times statements that this conflict in Ukraine will last for years and years to come, but they are very much mistaken. I'm quite sure conflict in Ukraine will end 2024, most likely. Maximum 2025, but I will give 70% chances that this conflict will end in 2024, somewhere around summer, maybe autumn, and that's it. I guess for that point, Moscow will force major capitals in the West to begin negotiations with Moscow about fate of Ukraine on Russian terms. That's how it's gonna be, and eventually sides will come up with a plan how Ukraine will be divided between its neighbors. And my understanding is that vast majority of Ukraine will be controlled by Moscow, directly or indirectly, and the western regions of Ukraine will be controlled by NATO or by West, because those territories before Second World War were part of Hungary, Poland, Romania, and Slovakia may also have some claims on some parts of Western Ukraine. But anyway, let's continue. RT is reporting about yet another statement from Foreign Minister of Germany, this unique individual that always makes us laugh. Very interesting person. So, according to, let me read it. Dwindling public attention to Ukraine conflict will be fatal, German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock has said in the run-up to a key NATO meeting in Brussels on Wednesday. The first meeting of the NATO-Ukraine Council on the level of foreign ministers took place, aimed at stalemate on the front line, as described by the top Ukrainian general Valery Zaluzhny earlier this month. Dmitry Kuleba, Kiev's top diplomat, rejected the assessment ahead of the meeting. Western fatigue with Ukraine and its problems topped the agenda during the season, but according to German news program Tagesschau, the ministers offered no concrete solution. The new view of Ukraine is currently disappearing from the public. That is a fatal. That's a fatal. Baerbock warned, as quoted by German Foreign Ministry on social media. But anyway, what is important that at least Baerbock indirectly confirms that there is some fatigue in the Western ruling class with all this Ukrainian story. We all knew it, of course, but it's always good when you have additional confirmations of your reading of big picture. Anyway, let's continue. RIA Novosti reports that President of Russian Federation Vladimir Putin will have a direct line and a big press conference on 14th of December. This is a tradition that Putin created, basically. He has this big press conference on year-on-year terms. Only exception was previous year, 2022, if I'm not mistaken. And probably many of you did see video footages from these huge press conferences. Hundreds of journalists are presented and this on a press conference, and this event sometimes lasts for many hours, and Putin is like answering for dozens and dozens of questions. If our channel was a little bigger, maybe we will have a chance to also be invited or be allowed to participate in this press conference, and maybe even ask questions on behalf of our community. But well, we are tiny yet, so maybe sometime in the future, maybe next year, who knows. But press conference itself, of course, will be very interesting. Putin will definitely talk about many very important topics, and maybe I will devote separate program to that press conference on very same day, on 14th of December, or maybe day after. Let's see. And now another major topic, which is escalation in the Middle East. TASS news agency reported yesterday that Hamas was planning to release 2 more Russian Israelis, and later on Russian media did confirm this information that Hamas Al-Qassam brigades, which is a military wing of Hamas, did release two more Russian Israelis, and this way they basically demonstrate their gratitude towards Russian leadership and position of Russian leadership, which does supports Israeli peace talks between Israel and Palestine, and supports peaceful citizens and Palestinian people. That's what I want to say. I want to highlight that Russian side do not support Hamas and do not support actions of Netanyahu's government, but Russian side is very clear that they are in support of peaceful residents of both Israel and Palestine, and this right approach definitely gains some sympathy among these military groups in the Palestine, because not that many states that are openly in support of Palestinian people also. Usually governments, especially in the West, are only talking about support of Israel, rarely mentioning Palestinian people and their struggle for their rights and freedoms and for their state that they supposed to have, by the way, according to many decisions that was made in the UN. Anyway, let's continue. RT is reporting that Pentagon is struggling to pay for Middle East buildup. Article about it was published in Politico. So let's read it. The Pentagon is scrambling to find the money to pay for a military buildup in the Middle East aimed at the Hamas-Israel conflict due to gridlock in the US Congress, which has so far been unable to approve full defense funding, Politico reported on a Tuesday. It's quite interesting, isn't it? Despite the fact that Pentagon's budget is hundreds of billions, like 700 billion, 800 billion, huge sums have been spent on military year-on-year terms by Washington, and still they are struggling to find to fund their build-up in the Middle East. That's quite interesting. If they will stop buying nails for $1,000 and many other items like 10, 100, 200 times of cost, then you can buy it in ordinary shops in the US, then Pentagon may have some better management of this of their funds. But at this point, seems like they are struggling to finance this build-up. And I remind you, dear friends, that just a few days ago, I did share on my Telegram also this video footage how U.S. aircraft carrier Dwight Eisenhower, if I'm not mistaken, one of the U.S. aircraft carriers was entering Persian Gulf, passing through Hormuz Strait. And of course, aircraft carriers are never alone. There are quite a few support ships always next to it, and all those ships were filmed by Iranian drone. And at this point, US has at least 2 aircraft carriers in the Middle East, but according to some reports, there may be even 4 aircraft carriers. Hard to confirm or deny this information because, of course, Pentagon don't share information with me. Anyway, let's continue. TASS news agency is reporting that Biden, formerly president of US, did make statement that US cannot allow hostilities to be prolonged in the Gaza. And according to him, if Israel will continue military operation, it will. That's exactly what Hamas wants, according to him, because Hamas mainly afraid of one thing: if Israeli and Palestinian people will live in peace. Well, statements. Sometimes Biden does make some adequate statements. His speechwriters are definitely able to come up with a normal speech, not a great but normal, understandable speech at least. But point is, what Biden's administration is telling Netanyahu and his government behind the scenes, because publicly they can make statement about anything, but if they really are pressing, let's say, Netanyahu and his associates, then why Israeli government on daily basis are making statements that they will continue military operation once ceasefire will end? I find it strange that from one side, Western media is beginning to push this narrative that White House is somewhat pressing Netanyahu to stop hostilities and prolong ceasefire. But in other hand, we are receiving statements from Netanyahu himself, for example, and the defense minister of head of defense forces, IDF, and many other officials in Israel, that they will continue this military operation. And I find it difficult to believe that Washington demands from Netanyahu stop hostilities and Netanyahu are not listening. It's not possible. It's just simply not possible. Israel is too dependent on U.S. support to jeopardize relationships with the U.S. And Netanyahu and his government definitely know this. So that's why I don't believe to any statements that coming out from White House. On publicly, they may say one thing. In reality, they are acting very differently. And dear friends, I remind you that Biden's administration has significant issues when it comes to electorate of Democrats. because it seems like electorate mainly are in support of Palestinian people. But bureaucracy of Democrat party itself and also officials, they are in support of Netanyahu and his actions. And this narrative, and that's why basically White House is beginning to push this narrative now in the media, that they are for peace and they are pressing Netanyahu to continue these peace talks, exactly to, you know, somewhat please their own electorate in the US. Because in reality, they are in full support of Netanyahu and his actions, I believe. Otherwise, Netanyahu will not say that they will continue a military operation. Anyway, let's continue with the additional news. Turkey may ratify bid of Sweden to become a member of NATO in upcoming weeks, which is quite interesting because when Swedish elites made decision to join NATO, I believe this decision was forced by Washington, maybe London also. But my understanding initially was that they are not really that keen to join NATO and lose all the benefits that they used to enjoy, staying somewhat neutral. And maybe because of it, we did see so many provocations in Sweden that significantly deteriorate relationships between Sweden and Turkey, for example. And Turkey blocked the Swedish bid to join NATO at the time. But it seems like Turkish leadership did realize this game of Sweden, and they are openly saying now that, you know what, we had some demands, Sweden agrees on that, you know, they will act on our demands, and we have no problem now, Sweden to become a part of NATO. And well, ball is on the Swedish side now. Let's see how they're gonna react, because as I said, I'm quite sure they don't really want to join NATO. And I guess Swedish society also don't want to join NATO, because they truly enjoy, they benefit from this somewhat neutral status. And now, if they will become part of NATO, they have to increase spendings on military, they have to obey orders from NATO leadership and so on. Do they need it really? I don't think so, but they have no options now. Or maybe in coming days we will see some additional provocations in Sweden, so that they, you know, they will provoke Turkey yet again to block Swedish bid. That's a possibility also, isn't it? Let's see. RIA Novosti is reporting that Russian Foreign Ministry did react on decisions of Moldova's government to impose sanctions on Russia, and well, according to Russian Foreign Ministry, Moscow of course will react accordingly on these unfriendly steps of Moldova. Yet again, dear friends, Moldova, let me show you Moldova on the map. Well, Moldova is here, by the way. And this, I will say, failed state is in a very difficult situation, really, because on one hand they have a issue with Transnistria, this area here, by the way, that declared independence from Moldova decades ago after Soviet Union collapsed, and Moldova may end up having also issue with Gagauzia, with Gagauz people. Who may also declare independence from Moldova if leadership of this failed state continues to destroy, escalate with Moscow. Let's say this way, and that's why I find it extremely risky on part of Moldova's government to you know, play this game with Moscow, because it's not gonna end well for Moldova. And I don't know, maybe Romanian government will intervene and calm down Moldova's crazy leaders, especially this Sandu, this stupid individual that has no idea about reality, and our president, for whatever reason, of Moldova. Probably Romania will intervene and calm down these idiots in Moldova's government. Otherwise, I'm afraid these games with Russia will not end well for this failed state. 100% sure about it. And I guess Romania also understands. Romanian government also does understand this, and I'm quite sure Bucharest don't really want any escalation with Moscow. But anyway, let's continue. Let's continue, and next news is several news now about some economical stuff, dear friends, and this is very interesting. Very interesting. RIA Novosti is reporting that Politico, Western media outlet, did give head of Russian Central Bank, Nabiullina, award for being a destroyer of the year. Well, this title she received because she basically destroyed hopes, all the hopes of Western ruling class that they will manage to jeopardize Russian economy. They will manage to crumble Russian economy and damage so much so that maybe even regime change will take place. That was the hopes of Western ruling class, and that they openly declared, by the way. They were openly talking about it. And according to Politico, actions of Nabiullina and Central Bank of Russia, and I will say economical bloc of Russian government, definitely destroy hopes of Western ruling class. And in that regards, she is definitely destroyer, undoubtedly. Destroyer of hopes of the Western elites. And she is, by the way, one of the... Although sometimes I'm critical of her policies, being Russian citizen, I can have my opinion on some topics, but I have to admit she is probably one of the best, maybe even best head of central bank in the world at this point. And Russian economical bloc, they are doing quite well. I mean, you may criticize some of their policies, but there is no way around rather than admitting that they did a pretty good job, by the way, to build up Russian economy so much so that it will withstand this immense pressure for the West. And it does. Russian economy doing quite well, by the way, better than Western economies. For example, when it comes to terms of growth of GDP, let's say. But anyway, let's continue. RIA Novosti is reporting that Finnish nuclear power station, by the way, Olkiluoto 3 nuclear power station was down again yesterday, and this is the second time in November when this nuclear power station is experiencing some malfunctioning and some technical issues, which is a worrisome development. Really, because after all, we are talking about nuclear power station, and well, I don't know what is wrong with Olkiluoto 3, but I hope administration of NPP and the Finnish authorities will do everything to make sure that this station is operating safely, and otherwise, just shut it down and don't risk it. But can Finnish government do this? I don't know, because according to some reports that I see, this power station generates about 30% of electricity that Finland consumes on a daily basis. So it's a big deal for Finland. Let's continue. And well, according to reports on RT, NATO state has earned 31 billion from Ukraine conflict. That was reported in Western media. Also, let me read several sentences. And we are talking about Norway, by the way, which definitely benefit from destruction of Nord Stream pipelines and from destruction of trade relationships between Russia and Europe, undoubtedly, because Norway is a major energy producer also. So let's read several sentences here. Norway raked in record oil and gas revenues last year after the conflict in Ukraine sent energy prices soaring, broadcaster NRK reported on Tuesday. According to the channel, citing Research Institute NHH, Norway earned 334 billion crowns, which is 31.3 billion USD in 2022 in revenues from natural gas exports, aimed a major disruption in supplies of Russian pipeline gas. Yes, I mean, Norway did benefit from destruction of relationships between Russia and EU, between Russia and EU member states, and some of those states, by the way, even demanded from Norway this additional billions that Norway received to be distributed to EU member states. Quite a crazy claim, really, to have, or crazy demand. And of course, Norway's government, refused to even discuss seriously this topic. But yes, they are benefiting. They are benefiting from destruction that Washington and London cause among into relationships between Russia and EU member states. Anyway, let's continue. RIA Novosti is reporting that a level of unemployment in Russia yet again hit record minimum, and at this point it's only 2.9%, which is once again demonstrates that Russian economy is doing quite okay despite Western sanctions, and in many sectors of economy, businesses are somewhat short of workforce. So that's also issue now for Russian economy, that in many sectors businesses are just too short of workforce, and they have to deal with this issue. At some point, there was some reports that Russian economy was on the verge of overheating, and some experts may even think that Russian economies are in the stage of overheating. Although recent steps from Russian central bank, increase in interest rates, will definitely chill down economy a little bit. Let's cool down economy a little bit. Let's continue. RT is reporting that the European Central Bank warns against seizing frozen Russian assets. Quite interesting. At least someone in EU bureaucracy is still able to think straight. The EU should not use frozen Russian assets in order to help rebuild Ukraine, the European Central Bank Vice President Luis de Guindos said in an interview with the Standard and La Libre Belgique news outlets published on Wednesday. According to the senior official, such an action could have serious implications for Europe's single currency. We have to be careful because this could lead to reputational damage. We have to look beyond this conflict in isolation, and there could be implications for the euro as a safe currency. The euro is the second most important currency in the world, and we have to consider its long-term reputation. This official from European Central Bank said. Quite obvious stuff, really, isn't it? He did not say something extraordinary. This is basics, really. This is basics. Everyone understands that EU politicians and politicians in some EU member states that are all for stealing these frozen Russian assets, they are crazy. Those politicians just cannot see even beyond one day. They don't know what reputation is, and what kind of damage stealing of Russian assets will cause to EU's economy, including currency, by the way, of EU. But at least some officials are, I mean, adequate in EU and understand that if Russian assets will be stolen, that may be beginning of the end of EU itself, not just euro as a world's reserve currency, second most popular reserve currency at this moment, but also that may be beginning of the end of EU itself. That's how big of damage can be done by, you know, if EU officials steal Russian assets. And the RIA Novosti is reporting that Putin did made statements about Russian economy yet again, and he said that Russian economy will in fairly short time manage to be totally free from any dependence on the Western technologies. Well, this is very important. If Russian industrial complex will manage to get free of Western, to begin to produce technologies and all that necessary in Russia itself, and become free from Western technologies or Western companies, that will be great, of course. That will be great, because there are many directions really at this point that Russia still needs these products of Western companies. Yes, there is always China there, and China always can replace European or Western companies, but it's always better when you are able to produce all you need. Well, I guess this is gonna be one of the major directions of next term, let's say, next presidential term of Putin, to gain full technological independence for Russia. That's a great cause. So let's see. And this is it for now. How long is this video? Quite short update, by the way, only 42 minutes at this point. And well, I hope you will find news from this update interesting, and if so, please consider to click that like button, and please leave some commentary about any topic you like, and as many comments as you can, because likes and comments are only way that we can fight back YouTube's immensely unfair and aggressive algorithm. And for very same reason, if you can, please share links to my videos and my channel with your friends on any of the platforms that you are active on. That way maybe we will manage to reach 20,000 before New Year. And dear friends, if you think this channel, this project is interesting, useful, deserves to exist, please consider to support my work with small donations through PayPal, buy me a coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. You can see links under this video in the description box or in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Have a great day and take care.